Welcome to Culture on I-24 News. I'm Yael Wisner-Levy, sitting in for Odette Grober. Thank you for joining us. Today on the show, we're going to talk to our very own Jason Danino Holt about a unique performance he participated in last week. We'll take a look at OneRepublic show in Tel Aviv. And we'll hear why funny women on television are still not getting the airtime they deserve. You know Jason Danino Holt, of course, from I-24 News The Tube, but he's also an actor, writer, and director whose work has appeared on the screen and on the stage. This weekend, together with other actors, he staged a unique hours-long performance titled Not Letting It In. And he's here now to tell us all about it. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
So Not Letting It In sounds a little not letting it in. What's the performance about?
Well, actually, the name has almost nothing to do with the performance itself, but it's just, I like sometimes names are inner jokes of the cast, so that's why Not Letting It In has happened. It's basically a 7-hour performance where the audience can come, leave, and come back whenever they want, where all we do is confess for 7 hours.
Real confessions.
Real confessions. As you can see here, we have notes on the table. These are confessions we wrote throughout the rehearsal period. We're supposed to improvise confessions. And as you can see, the audience, which is very, very close to us, at a certain point, without us even asking him to do so, starts to confess as well. So it's one long improvisation that's all about, well, honesty and truth and confessing.
Well, improvisation really doesn't have that many rules. Is there any rules in Not Letting It In?
Well, first of all, improv has many rules.
Okay.
And here we have a few rules that are very important. It's a format, like a television format, so you have a performance format. That's the concept. So basically, you're allowed to speak only in confessions, because the difference between such a performance and a conversation is there's a fine line. I think the most important rule is the no comment rule. So whatever you say, from the most funny, stupid thing to something really, really emotional and big, you know, people said very intense things. Mm-hmm. So there's no comment. You just nod and accept whatever has been brought to the table. You're letting it in or not letting it in. That's the whole thing. And you move on. As I said, the audience can come and go as they want, and they can confess with us, and that's the power of it, basically.
Did you have to convince other actors to join you, or did they actually jump at this opportunity to express themselves in such a raw manner?
When I asked actors to come join me, I didn't know yet exactly what's going to be the final product. All I knew is that I'm tired of actors performing through characters. The question that led me was, how do you perform yourself? How do you speak only from your own biography and only in your own voice about your own life? And then this format happened, and after we started performing, I have lists of people that are craving to join the performers. So I'm assuming people want to, speak and confess.
How did the audience react? Did they connect to certain actors more than others? Did they empathize with certain more than others?
First of all, I think the surprising thing was the addictive element of it. People came, they planned to be there for an hour, they stayed for 4 hours, they came for 2 hours, had to go to dinner and came back to the last 3 hours. There was something about it that you just want more and more and more. I think it's the contrary of what we find in the world outside. People don't say the truth so much. And there's such a relief when you actually say what is really going on, what you actually feel. And the thing is that the concept of the sky never falls. No matter what you say, everything's okay. And this feeling is addictive. And the audience itself, what they feel is they start saying inside of themselves, they say, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. I hate my grandmother. Yeah, me too. And this thing, they get so identified with the content of it that they have to stay more and more, and they start confessing.
Right.
They start speaking.
Do you think that, though, that we're in a culture of everyone wanting to confess, or sometimes people say, with social networks and Facebook, people try to, pretend that they have this identity that they don't really have just to be perceived as something that they perhaps aren't?
Well, the first time we did it in my studio, and the second time we did it just last week was in a museum and part of a festival that's about digital culture. And the question, why should we be in such a festival, was because since we are very much online right now, you have Facebook and you have the app Secret that is no longer existent, but people feel comfortable to confess even partially online. But the difference between confessing live with your own face, with your own voice, and keeping it human is so strange to people in 2015 that that's the power of it.
Mm-hmm. But is there a certain part in your performance as an actor where it changes from the actual truth to simply performing?
Listen, I think the word truth is a word we can talk about for hours now.
Yeah.
I believe that we are made of many semi-truths. I can say two contradictory things about myself, two confessions that are as true for the moment. And I think that, yes, we are performing. It is a manipulative form of art, though it's based on honesty. And there is a middle there.
And in your own career, you've, of course, come from the stage and the screen in many different roles, acting, writing, directing. You started your own show, which isn't autobiographical horror, but you wrote and you started it. What did that show open for you?
Well, first of all, it's not an autobiographical play. It's just a play I wrote. It won. That's okay. It won several awards here in Israel, and now it's being translated. It's going to be performing in Berlin and in New York. And this specific performance, well, it changed many things since it's a very large-scale piece. It's the largest thing I did. You have video arts from people from Israel and around the world. You have very famous musicians that take part in it. So it's a very big play, and I think what it opened for me is the international port, because, as I said, it's going abroad. So that's a very lovely thing. In the future, do you think you'll ever go back to, regular theater, the classics of plays, or are you kind of looking and indulging into the improv / video art / almost inventing your own type of performance? I hope that I will continue to ask questions and not take anything for granted. I think that in 2015 there is a problem in the medium of theater that which is you can press play and watch whatever you want any second. You don't longer have to wait in your village to the traveling theater to come and give you something. So I think the only thing we have left is the liveness of it. And the question of what is live, what is truth, is a question that I promise myself to keep on asking. Confessions is truthful. Durational performances are truthful because the time that we're spending together is actual time we have spent together. And I think that, what's happening in the world is slowly coming here in Israel. That theater and video arts and performance art, everything's blending together. Converging. So, yes, it is. And it's an eternal question, of course. What is truth? We can, as you said, talk about it for hours. Yes, Jason Danino Holt, thank you for joining us. Thank you for inviting me. A week after the Backstreet Boys performed in Israel, rock pop band OneRepublic performed in Israel for the first time. And this weekend, we sent our correspondent to the show to see how fans felt about the band's visit to the Holy Land.
Imagine a nation where the grass is green and selfie sticks, cell phones, and teenagers are everywhere. This is the OneRepublic of Hayarkon Park. It is here where the American pop rock band from Colorado Springs performed last Thursday in front of an audience of 20,000 fans. Excited to visit Israel for the first time, the band constantly updated their Instagram page with photographs from the Holy Land. Lead singer Ryan Tedder's grandfather is a preacher, and Tedder did not hide his excitement of visiting sites that are famous to Christian pilgrims. Their decision to kick off their European tour in Tel Aviv was firm, despite the pressure to cancel their show in Israel. Their arrival touched Israeli fans.
I think it's amazing. So many artists are taking part in the BDS movement, canceling shows or whatever, so I think it's amazing that artists like OneRepublic stick to their guns, come to play music that everyone loves.
Yeah, I saw that they supported the soldiers yesterday, and it really warmed my heart.
The band also had time to visit soldiers operating the Iron Dome protective defensive system near Ashkelon. Fans who purchased their tickets the first day they went on sale were positive that no cancellations would happen.
We knew that they're coming and they're not gonna disappoint us, like everyone else does.
Israeli fans full of enthusiasm sang along to almost every song, And the great amount of videos which appeared on the web a day after the show are proof of the big following they have in Israel.
Hope that you fall in love.
Formed in 2002 by Ryan Tedder and Zach Filkins, OneRepublic first achieved commercial success on MySpace as an unsigned act. After being dropped by Columbia Records, their popularity on MySpace led famous producer Timbaland to sign them to his prestigious record label Mosley Music Group. Ever since, the band has released 3 albums, and their singles are known for reaching high in the European music charts and on the Billboard. The tour will now continue in Turkey, Macedonia, and Bulgaria before continuing around the old continent.
In a moment, we'll hear about funny women in TV, but first, our cultural recommendation for today.
This is probably the biggest music festival in Morocco and one of the biggest in North Africa. It takes place every year in the north of the country, in the capital city of Rabat. For this 14th edition, international stars and local celebrities rubbed shoulders as always under the patronage of the King of Morocco, Mohammed VI. And the least we can say is that this year the lineup was even more impressive than in previous years, with Jennifer Lopez as opening act, followed by eclectic artists such as Pharrell Williams, Sean Paul, and DJ Avicii. Performances on 7 different stages of the festival like Placebo, Haim Bootbull, Akon, Yannick Noah, Sting, and Maroon 5. A festival that continues to open up year after year. Perhaps in the near future it will also invite Israeli groups to perform on stage, something it hasn't done yet. So keep your ears open to the groove.
And now it's time for a Shuttle Pilot segment off screen. Shachal, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Yael, and I'm very happy that you're here for a talk about some girl power.
I'm so happy to be here.
Because last week, when David Letterman had his final show, there were 10 comedians for a tribute of his famous top 10 list, and there were, out of these 10, only 2 women, Tina Fey and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Now, do you know who's replacing David Letterman? It's Stephen Colbert.
Right.
Who's replacing Jon Stewart? It's Trevor Noah. Who replaced Jay Leno? It was Jimmy Fallon. And all men, despite the fact that there are very, very funny women out there, it seems like the traditional conservative American television is still not ready to meet them, at least not at late night. Now, The Hollywood Reporter actually gathered 6 of these very, very funny women recently for their famous roundtables. The TV's most provocative female comedians, including Lena Dunham and Amy Schumer, to talk about sexism and sex scenes and penis bags and vaginas and all things that mainly women comedian can talk about. And they also tried to explain why women need to stop apologizing. Schumer, for example, gave her thoughts on why women are still excluded. She said, I think people hate women. I don't think they want to hear a woman talk for too long. A lot of people project their mum yelling at them, which might be true, but still it doesn't explain the lack of opportunities for women comedians or for funny women in general.
And you know, that whole group of that we just saw, you know, I think the main key word in what you said is the conservative mainstream media, because the unconservative, the alternative media really knows Amy Schumer so well.
Exactly.
She's a rising star there.
And there's definitely an improvement throughout the years from the Amy Schumer show, Inside Amy Schumer, Veep, Girls, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, the new show, Jane the Virgin. They're
Mindy.
all exactly. They're all greatly acclaimed, funny shows headed by women. They're not the wife or the girlfriend anymore. They are the lead character. They lead these shows, and they are not only shows intended for women. There are many, many issues there and topics men can also relate to. Also, I think women are much more free to speak about the more sensitive and more provocative issues rape, abortion, different kinds of sexuality issues that might seem sexist if a man, other than Louis C.K. maybe, would talk about them. But here, women are free to speak about these issues in a much more, let's say, R-rated topics are much more their thing. But they are also expected more. For example, Lena Dunham was very heavily criticized for girls, saying that there was a lot of dialogue about race when girls started. She was thinking about the chubby girls and half Jews,
And it's
she called them.
now it's just time for others besides HBO to take notice of all these women, and then we'll be in a good, better
and
situation.
Hopefully, yes. We're looking forward to see them on cable and everywhere else.
Shachel, thank you. We'll be here tomorrow again with more culture.